Okay. Oh, here's Meg now.
Hi.
Hi, Meg.
Hello, hello.
Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. How are you guys?
Yeah, good.
Good.
Yeah. So yeah, I think we've got quite a few people registered for today, haven't we?
Yeah, I think we're up to 50.
Oh wow, great. Well, yeah, we'll give it a few more minutes and let people join.
Yeah.
So Jake, you're in the office today. Meg, you're also in the office
Yeah, I
today.
look like I've got a bit of a halo going on, don't I, with the
You
light?
have, yeah.
Glowing.
I've come in today just to focus a little bit because the house is a bit wild again at the moment. Babies and children, and people running around everywhere. So
yeah,
what to do at the moment? So I thought I'd come in.
Did you get a better night's sleep last night though, Jake?
Last night was better because I went to bed at 8:30.
I love an early night.
Yeah.
So we were still up quite early, but because I went to sleep early, I was actually fine. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's good. Yeah, Jake has a nearly 1-year-old and a nearly 5-year-old in the house.
Yeah. Working
Got
from
your hands
home.
full.
Extremely full. It's all good. It's all good. Just trying to promote everyone through to the
Morning.
Morning, John. How are you?
How are you?
Very well. All good. Thank you.
Yeah.
How's things?
Yep, very good.
Excellent.
Oh, hi Alex as well. We've got Tanya. Sorry, I've just yeah. Hi there. Hi Lisa. Sorry, I've just switched on the gallery view so I can actually see everyone now, which is great.
We'll give it maybe 1 or 2 minutes before we start saying hellos and whatnot, and then we'll just because as Jenny says, we've had loads signed up today. So hopefully we'll have lots of people. Everyone's super interested to hear Simon's story.
No good.
No pressure.
No pressure. It's amazing to think that actually we've been doing these hives for 15 months now.
Yeah, it's well over a year now, isn't it?
Yeah. And when we started last year, it was very much a kind of like, I don't know, it almost felt like it was, we were all very much in panic mode, weren't we? Of like, oh, we're in lockdown and, how do we stay in touch and what do we do? And it was very much just to kind of get on a Zoom and have a cuppa and check that everyone was okay. It's amazing to see how it's evolved over the last year and a bit. And it's great to see so many familiar faces that keep coming back and new faces as well. Yeah, we're always very happy to welcome new people in.
Yeah, it's a good mix.
Great stuff. Okay, well, we've got quite a few people on now, so we may as well make a bit of a start. So before we introduce and give a bit of background to the Hive and today's guest, I thought I'd say a quick hello for myself. My name is Jacob. I'm a digital strategist at Prodo. So basically my job to explore digital transformation projects with housing associations, and I was actually an account manager for a couple of years here as well, so I know the accent team quite well. And yeah, that was my job, basically exclusively working with Prodo's housing customers. So I like to think I'm quite in tune with the sector's challenges and the digital transformation sort of side of things from a housing perspective. But yeah, just a quick introduction to my colleague Jenny, who's joined us as well today.
Hi, I'm Jen. I'm a group account director at Prodo and I work with lots of our lovely housing clients. Some of you are on the call today, so thank you very much. Really, really interested to hear what Simon's going to chat to us about today. We often have sort of topics, discussion items that are focused on channel shift, digital transformation. Obviously, that's been a particularly hot topic in the last 12 months or so with some of that sort of shift towards more digital solutions, sort of having more impetus and more drive to sort of push forward quickly. So thanks everyone for joining today. Really good to see you all.
Yeah, thanks, Jen. So I just wanted to start really just a very, very sort of quick background into the Housing Hive, and then a bit of an introduction to today's guest as well. So yeah, as Jenny said, we've been doing this for quite a while now. We started it just after lockdown 1 as almost a way just to kind of use our position of having many connections in the sector, just to connect people, just to sort of help navigate through the pandemic. It was all a bit scary at the very start, and how best we might be able to utilize digital to sort of help move through that and help housing associations continue to transact and sort of service customers. So that's kind of how it started, and yeah, since then it's grown into almost like a bit of a community which we really enjoy being a part of. as Jenny says, we'll have some guest speakers on from time to time, like Simon today. We've had John from PCH on before, Housing Solutions, Hyde Group, Stockport Homes, all sorts of different guest speakers. And sometimes we'll run topics ourselves. But yeah, I suppose on to today's session then. So I know you're all really keen to hear what Simon has to say, and that's why you sort of registered for today's session. So Accent Group, we've been working from a product perspective for a few years now. Accent are a housing association based in Shipley, but also the fact they have over 20,000 homes, they actually spread across the north, east, south of the country, servicing over 40,000 residents and their families as well. And I noticed this morning, having a little bit look around, that Simon has worked at Accent for over 25 years. So really interested to hear Simon's story, and I'm sure during that time things have changed a hell of a lot from not only an organizational perspective, but what Accent in terms of growth as well, but in terms of what Accent offer from a digital perspective. And Simon's really been a key part of that, certainly from the projects that we've been running at Prodo with Accent. So at that point, I'll hand over to yourself, Simon, to say a quick hello, and we'll get into the session if that sounds okay.
Yeah, no, it's good. Thanks, Jacob. I switched off my LinkedIn work anniversary reminders about 15 years ago. So, so yeah, I have been. Unfortunately, because Jenny's asked for sort of a digital journey history, and because I've been here 25 years, it's quite a long history. So I've tried to divide it up a little bit so we don't go right back to just 1996 and then work forwards from there. So I hope this is going to be of use to people. I'll just share my screen.
Sure.
You must have started at Accent very young, Simon. That's all I can say. 25 years.
I started in accountancy, and then I worked for an engineering firm, and then I kind of fell into IT by doing a night class in Windows 3.1, unfortunately. So
Wow.
right, okay, let's fire this up then. Okay, can you all see that?
Yeah,
Perfect. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, luckily that's just the first screen. So covering journey, projects, planning and engagement, basically. And like I say, I'm not going to go right back through the annals of all our history, but yeah, I started in 1996. It felt a bit like the Wild West back then. And I think there was quite a big sort of focus on equipment, and individual siloed systems was where we were back then. There was a lot of green screen. Viruses weren't really that dangerous because I don't think people had that much data, and the data was held in all sorts of different systems. Like we had an iSeries back at the time. The last memo I can remember receiving was actually a request for some computers back in 1998. And when we moved office, I found it down the back of the filing cabinet. So I don't really know whether we ever supplied any of those computers or not. Laptops were £5,000. You could smoke in the office, and it was very much a case of IT was on the second floor. And what I mean by that is it wasn't really, it was seen as sort of maybe a slightly isolated resource. It was something that we provided for people, but it wasn't really, I'd say, that integrated into the business other than supporting what few systems we had back then. We didn't get external email until 1999. We started in 1998 with Lotus Notes, and but we weren't allowed to send an email externally. It was seen as too dangerous. If I move forward quite a few years, really, I think we started on our current journey probably in 2010 when we replaced our HR system, our finance system, and we bought a SAN at that point as well. So we felt like we're entering the big league back then. New housing management system, sort of 2010 to 2013, procurement and implementation and training. And since then, since 2017, we've been building on those core systems. I think sort of fast forward to 2019, it still feels like we're doing a bit of pioneering work. There's a lot of new products out there, but the pioneering through integration now, and through our use of the integration between systems and that sort of consolidation of data as well through that integration. So if you're a customer partner and you're using a system, you have a complete view of what you need from different systems in one screen. That's kind of been our focus. We still have lots of modules and things like that, but that's kind of the push. I think as well, because of that choice of products, really, I suppose, and cloud-based systems, it's necessitated more of a focus on what the outcome is. Because I think in the past, many years ago, kind of guilty on, so we want an HR system, so let's go out and buy an HR system. Whereas I think these days it's much, so what do we want to do with that? What is it actually going to deliver for us, and what's it going to deliver for our customers? And that's the thing to focus on, and less on the solution and the how. We come to that sort of later. I'd say where we are now is sort of transformation with care and engagement. I'll come to the engagement piece later on, but in terms of care, I think one of the challenges we have is around the breadth of knowledge that people have to have. And I think we have to also be mindful, because people are working at home, that actually when we do some of these transformation pieces, not to leave people behind or leave people feeling isolated, make sure everybody's involved and give maximum opportunity for involvement in the project work. There's big focus on customer centricity. Now, I know back in '96 there was some focus on that, but I think today it's massively amplified. It's right at the heart of everything that we do, and we're sort of on a real cultural transformation journey. Back in '96, very, very different culture. It was shirts, ties, jacket on if you went in the boardroom, which was sort of oak panelled with a big circular table with the chief exec sat at the end. And I think a lot of that formality now through all organisations really is being kind of stripped away. The things that we're coming up to next are, we've got a lot of work around repairs and appointments, contractor integrations ongoing, big push on automation. So not only robotic process automation, but also things like customer safety certificates and how those are handled. We're stripping out all the layers of manual handling and automating things. Coming up to sort of trying to re-envision our digital offer as well. We've not started on that yet. We've kind of reached a point in time where there's a few decisions that we have to make in terms of what we do next, because we've kind of got quite a few of the core features. The one missing, I think I've touched on already, is probably the repairs appointments, and there are some challenges in delivering that. There's a lot of refresh work as well. So the contact center's on Skype and a product called Geomant at the moment. So there's a move to push that towards Teams. Teams is not still that mature a product, so some of the features for a contact center we're still waiting on, and there's question marks over things like reliability, how robust. Obviously it's very robust from a global perspective, but certainly individually we have any problems in sort of the last mile of cabling to our building where our systems are distributed from, then we still have that sort of a challenge, although there are when it makes sense to go to cloud, and some of the systems that we're buying at the moment are very much not on premise. I won't go through all the projects that we've done. I'll kind of leave that list up there, and if there's, the little writing is mainly a reminder for me to mention things if people ask. I'll just have a quick look at the challenges. I think in delivering those projects and the ones that are coming up, one of the challenges is process re-engineering. If you mention process to anybody, the shutters come down. It's difficult. It involves a lot of people. The processes are complicated. So that is one of the big pushes, or one of the sort of areas of maximum effort. And I think in order to deliver that, you need the right resources. So those business analysts and those business partners, I know Lisa's on the call, are absolutely vital in delivering that change. The next one we have is embedding the process. We're all distributed, but actually I don't think it's been any more difficult than it was before. It was already difficult before embedding these processes. And part of that is down to the breadth of knowledge that people have to have. If I look at who knows the business and the processes the best, or who has to know the most, you're talking kind of frontline staff. So we have customer partners, a bit like housing officers, and the contact center staff. And those are the two roles really that have most access to the systems, have to know the most processes. Probably, I don't know, I would estimate maybe 60 different, 70 different processes they have to manage. So in terms of embedding new ones, that's a real challenge for them. We have to be mindful that we have to be on the ball when we do the training and the introduction of these new pieces of work. The other one is people's understanding of the impact of data. And that, again, that's always a big challenge, because it's a cliche, but it's at the heart of everything we do. And if the data's not right, the decisions are not right, the customer service is not right. And that we put kind of a real emphasis. So we have two separate sort of team meetings around data quality, things like that, to make sure that we handle the data correctly. There's a lot of data quality reporting as well. That's a big thing that's on the increase, right down to when we launched a product called My Documents in April. So that's a way of us publishing documents on our My Account portal directly to customers, so they can download them. We do have a data quality checks as a sort of GDPR protection. There's no reason why we should have a problem in publishing documents there, but it's more of a sort of fail-safe in that we get daily reports, so we can see what documents are on there and what categories they fall in. So we're making sure we're not publishing anything externally, and and those type of checks are ongoing in a number of different areas. The way we do planning, change management's probably been embedded about 6 or 7 years now, so it's quite mature. We meet every week, and everything has to go through a change management process for approval. We do a lot around release management. I suppose one of the challenges I've not got on there is an internal IT one, and that's environment management. Got so many different test and release environments, and the more projects you do, the more complex that becomes, because sometimes they need to run in, well, most of the time they need to run in parallel. We just started with team success plans, and that's that also brings us a bit of a challenge, because the individual teams have individual success plans that are sort of aggregated at a corporate level. And the challenge that comes out of that is the doing things in order of priority. The bullet point below, delivery boards, we have 4 delivery boards: homes, repairs and maintenance, culture plus, and service, and they set the project priorities. Now, if your project's a 6 at delivery board, that doesn't really matter to you because it's your project. So your project to you is actually a 10. And that's quite a difficult message to manage sometimes from an IT perspective when we're drafting up the order of work, really. So doing things in order of priority can sometimes be difficult. We also have my bit of the department's shaped via the business structure. So we have a user experience team, core internal business structure, business system, sorry, customer experience team. So that covers the website and things like our Let's Move product and the contact center, as well as a host of other things. And we have the agile team, who largely do development for. They're sort of aligned with our homes and assets team. One thing we've been keen to do is not burden people with too many tools, so we tend to keep documentation to minimum. I've listed probably the entirety of what we use there. There's a project brief and update document, which is a 1-page PowerPoint. We have a RAID log, a plan, requirements, reporting statement or reporting documentation, and the PID would sort the business case in. Although sometimes we don't use the PID, we'll just use the project brief. And the stages we go through: discovery, definition, development, delivery. And we always have to start with discovery, because I think the temptation, everybody wants to go straight into development. So I want this, shows the prototype, give you 2 weeks. And we had to sort of break out of that cycle to make sure we were delivering the right thing. And that links into the sort of my last 2 bullets on the challenges. We've got to be seen to be keeping our promises. And actually, as part of deciding what to deliver and when, we have to have that discipline up front, so we get the benefits assessment right. Because otherwise, what happens is you deliver something and you'll spend 2 months delivering it and 5 people will use it. So, and we have fallen in that hole with a couple of things. They've had other benefits as well, but you've got to make sure you do that assessment up front to make sure you're going to get maximum benefit out of that.
Does that help with the whole prioritization discussion you were saying, Sam, around, you know, if your project is maybe a 5, but you personally think is a 10, does that sort of benefits assessment help with that side of things, would you say?
Yeah. So what we do is we use the project brief to look at what there's sort of like a benefits statement within there. What are the outcomes that we're hoping to achieve? And then when the delivery board looks at it, they're able to make a choice around what priority that is. And we just score them 1 to 10. I will say that 10 is a very popular number, as is 9 and 8. Anything below that is a lot less popular, but at least it does give us some structure around what the 10s are. And I think that's the important thing. On the list there are 100. Now they're not concurrent, obviously. So and there is sort of time scale around those, but the 10s are sort of obviously business critical. It goes without saying, really. And you know, anything below 5 or 6 tends to fit in and whenever we can. But what you'll find as well is that works on a sort of proximity level. So you might give something a 5 because actually you don't need to start for 6 months. But as long as the delivery boards are reviewing that, you can push the priority up later as it becomes more important. Or, you know, sometimes you can get that with regulatory changes or something like that. You know you've got to do them, but you know it's a smallish project, so you'll give it a 5 and you'll bump it up to a 10 when it gets probably within, say, 4 months or something like that. Yeah.
I think it's really important reflecting on that process as well, because it's obviously with lots of competing priorities and competing voices across the organisation, it helps you take away some of that subjectivity around things, and as you say, sort of framing it in terms of that benefits assessment. You know, what's the impact for the business, what's the impact for our customers, keeps that customer centricity at the heart of everything you're doing, whilst also ensuring that you're still making progress, you're still driving things forward.
Yeah. And your decision making again is only as good as your project brief. So you've got to make sure your project briefs are good, because otherwise the leadership team can't make those sort of priority decisions. So but equally, if you submit a 45-page document, that also makes it very difficult to make a decision, because you don't know it's difficult to dig out the core goals. So it's important to keep the documentation quite concise, I think. And it helps as well, because if I think how many project managers do we have across the organization, there's probably only 3. There's probably 1 in IT and 2 sort of on the property development side, I think. So the people generally acting as project managers also have day jobs, and you have to make sure that the process is easy for them to follow, because they've got operational responsibilities too. So kind of how do we know we're delivering the right stuff? And so the 2 boxes, so the one on the left is really kind of external, and the one on the right is internal. We have a specific team to do engagement, and they do a really good job. There's lots of surveys, so when we come to do a project that's sort of customer facing, we already have quite a wealth of information on what customers think about that. And we use rant and rave. which is a sort of feedback product. So if you call us, you'll get a survey, very simple survey. And what we do is we follow up on any, if we get a 5, we're happy. If we get a 1, we're obviously not happy, and neither is the customer. So we follow up all the lower scoring points, and that goes across things like state services, as well as the contact center. There's a percentage follow up on repairs as well, so we know how our repairs contractors are doing. And there are probably another three areas which I forget at the moment that we cover on that. We have scrutiny groups. Sounds very scary when you first get involved with a scrutiny group, because it is a bunch of our customers directly questioning us about why we're doing things and what we're doing. So, but they're always very friendly actually, and they come with some really good challenges and things that we haven't thought of. So some of the work we've done on the website and with my account has actually been driven by information we got from the scrutiny group.
Okay.
Sometimes as well, you'll ask questions about an IT style project, and you'll find out actually that some of the issues we've got are maybe nothing to do with that project, and we're heading in the wrong direction. So it enables you to change direction to meet that sort of customer centricity goal. We've got the Accent 500. That's 500 engaged customers who are willing to help us with surveys and things like that. And we've just launched an engagement platform called Your Voice, and it's low key at the moment while we get that launched, but they can log in and leave comments and things like that. And it's the engagement team, the insights team actually manage those forums at the moment. We ask UK CSI, you'll notice that's on both sides. So we're asked what we think of our customer service, and the customers are asked what they think of it in at least an annual survey. Just trying to think what the others are. So the repairs and maintenance board is an example where we've got customer involvement, and they give us feedback on the processes that we're designing and what sort of outcomes they want to see. And also we get ad hoc feedback, and that's kind of, we're just doing some accessibility work on the website at the moment, and that was driven by ad hoc feedback from 2 or 3 customers. And it's useful actually to keep in touch with them as well, because they can sometimes, if they've got availability, can help you do some of the testing as well in a sort of very light touch way. Internally, we have project teams, they're cross business. We do a lot of requirements gathering and stakeholder identification. That stakeholder identification is key for the process stuff I mentioned earlier. When we're struggling with the process re-engineering, you just make sure you've got all these stakeholders involved, because you'll get right to the end and somebody will pop up at the last meeting and say, what about this? We do this. And then actually that can delay your go live if you're not careful. We have drop-in sessions. These have been really easy to do, because we just offer up 3 or 4 dates over a 3 or 4 week period, and people can just join sessions like this. So that's been really useful as well. SharePoint for a lot of information sharing, and we have sort of leadership and team briefings at least monthly as well, with lots of updates. So there's lots of sharing of information within the business. We also do best companies as well.
Just
And
talking about the sorry, Simon.
No,
Just
go on.
talking about the project teams and sort of stakeholder identification and requirements and things. We had a question through the chat actually from John from Plymouth Community Homes, who was asking, it's probably a good time to ask, with you talking through those sections, do you have any issues when obtaining those stakeholders, IT or the wider business, and ensuring that they actually lift themselves out of that sort of day-to-day role, so get involved in the project teams and sort of visualize that bigger picture side of things? How do you sort of handle that side of things?
Yeah, it can be quite hard work, because what you'll find is you end up relying on you can end up relying on a few people. And a part of, one of our agenda items is sort of inclusion as well. And I think, we're making bigger efforts to include more people in this, because what happens is you get in a vicious cycle. You'll have certain people who know lots about the business, and you ask them all the time to join these groups, but they get overloaded. and actually the people around them don't get any sort of knowledge because they're not involved in these groups. You've got to try and break out with that cycle. So it is it is quite a challenge, and we do find occasionally that we do identify additional stakeholders almost mid-project. So it is an issue, but you've either got to then phase the project, or you've just got to add those requirements in, and it just depends entirely on what they are. And again, coming back to one of the other challenges, it's about delivering what you say you're going to deliver and keeping your promises. But you've also got to be flexible and say, look, that's okay. We agreed that specification, and we can still carry on and do that. But in reality, to make this a better product, we've maybe got to add in those extra requirements that you've identified from the new stakeholder. That I'm trying to think of the example where that's happened recently. There was a process. I think one of the challenging ones was sales. So we've done a dynamic sales system, and it's not only sales. There are 9 processes in there around shared ownership. But of course, so you've got the sales system, and the sales team want to sell. But then when you're doing shared ownership, you've obviously got the other side where people need an account, which is on a different system. And actually piecing together all those processes, so where the rent's set, and complications like if any sort of joint tenancy agreement or different types of tenancy agreement, or mutual exchange, and there's so many different variations that actually identifying everybody was actually quite tricky in that, and we did have to go around the loop again. So we kind of delivered the system and then went around the loop probably 2 or 3 times on the integration to make sure as well that we didn't have different contacts, the same people with different contact details in dynamic sales and in the core housing management system. So that was quite a challenge. Right, so that's actually all I've got on the slides.
That's fantastic. That's been so informative and really interesting. I think it's interesting you reflect on that flexibility and that agile approach, and actually it's okay to change direction, to adapt what you're doing, because it's a natural consequence of these kind of processes and projects that priorities will change along the way. I think last year is a really key case in point that actually probably Accent and lots of other organizations like yourselves have had to adapt really rapidly to a changing environment that actually you're just not in control of those external factors. So reshaping, organizational processes, what you're actually doing with customers, at pace is it's really important to have that kind of agile mindset.
The delivery boards, I think the delivery boards have actually been quite useful as well in terms of setting the prioritization, because I think what was happening before is we were getting a little bit stuck in the middle of what the priority was. And I think sometimes we can make the decision because there's maybe a technology reason, but other than that, it wasn't really how do you choose between say doing, I don't know, a new disrepair process or a new complaints process, and that's not really something that IT should be deciding. It's just not that sort of a decision. I think that's kind of taking that away from us, because there were conflicts. If somebody comes to you with both, I think we were feeling a bit stuck in terms of making that decision, and so now we can ask the delivery board to say, okay, which one from a strategic direction point of view, which is the most important of these? And actually it also helps because you can say, okay, well, no, actually we do want to do them both at the same time, but in that scenario we can get in extra resource to do that. So it has been really useful.
Fantastic. I think in the last couple of years, particularly, you referenced sort of 2019 onwards, there's been a real shift in terms of the customer facing aspects of that transformation program. And particularly you referenced Let's Move and your My Account. What have been your biggest successes with those platforms? And also it'd be really interesting to hear about any sort of key failures and learnings from those as well.
Failures. So let me have a think. I don't think we've actually fully withdrawn anything from a failure point of view. I think what it is sometimes you have to modify your ambitions, is what I'll say. So I'm just trying to think out of those ones on there. So for the repairs one, for example, that's been a real challenge. So what we've done is so what the end goal was one customers to be able to pick appointments. We're not a DLO. We've got 150 contractors probably, although we do have probably less than 15 core contractors. Some of them are more IT aware or capable than others. So how do we manage that and still get customer appointments? Because actually the appointments got to come from the contractor. And what we did is we built interfaces, and it's taken us a long time to work with the contractors to get those interfaces up and running. So the stage was, so we thought, right, okay, should we do so we've done something on the website on my account which allowed people to log a repair, but how do we make the leap to appointments? And at first we started going at let's try and get an appointments picker there, but then obviously we quickly stopped and realized actually, but we're not even sure that if those dates are going to be available. So what we're asking people for is a preference, but what we'd actually rather say to them is you've got a choice here. There's these three, or if you don't like those, here's another three. And do it that way. But to do that, you have to diagnose what the problem is and which contractor in your national environment is going to actually go out and fix that problem. So we started off looking at all 26 repairs processes actually.
Oh, wow. And
where we got to was, so we had to take a sort of step back. Where we got to, we've done some sort of AI using just a Microsoft text analytical tool, so that if you ring the contact center, there's a new interface to raise a repair. And when you start typing what the customer's saying, what it does is it picks the scheduler rates code for you. It already knows the customer because obviously you've gone through the process of validating who the customer is. So it knows what area they're in. It knows whether it's communal or whether it's their property or whether they're a homeowner. It knows what's in all the contracts for those 150 contractors, and it can actually get it down so it just suggests one contractor for you, and that cut out a lot of issues. Now, once you've identified the one contractor, theoretically, you can then pick an appointment from their system because you know which system you're looking at, and we do that on gas appointments for the contractors at the moment. We've just started doing it on repairs, but that's taken ages. Because quite frankly, it depends on the size of the contractor as to how interested they are in taking that approach and how capable they are and how much it's going to cost them. So that has taken a long while, but we are getting there with that. So that was kind of one that it's steps backwards and forwards, if you see what I mean. The other one I think is maybe My Documents, and it's a sort of journey of discovery as to what we could use that for. So we bought M-Files back in 2018, and the intention has always been to publish documents to customers. And some of the things that cropped up. So so how do you pick what to publish to customers? You have to integrate your core system so only letters are generated. If you do letters, then you have to include ad hoc letters because the customer doesn't know whether it's an ad hoc letter or whether it's a system generated one. So that's kind of put a bit of a stopper, I would say, on the publication of letters for the time being, because there are too many sort of generated in an ad hoc fashion. So what we did is we've taken a process approach and said, okay, which processes are we going to automate? Leave letters and focus on core documents. So like annual rent statements or tenancy agreements, or we do a personal statement for customers that sort of summarizes their activity, things on their estate, the planned maintenance status and stuff like that. And we've published those in the portal. so that they can get access. But then there's a level of understanding within the business as well. So there's an immediate assumption, oh, we can just send stuff via the portal. And it's not that. The understanding is that that's actually a method of delivering the document, but it's not a method of communication, because you can put something in there, but the customer doesn't know it's there.
Yeah.
So you've got to just be careful about how it's used. So it's a great way of giving people access to stuff. And the ultimate goal is building safer futures. It's to have safety documentation and stuff like that on there relating to their assets. And that's where we're heading. We've taken massive leaps forward in the last 2-3 years in terms of customer safety as well. But the last stage is working out how we communicate those things as well once we put them on there.
Yeah.
Fantastic. That's great, Simon. And so what's next? Where are you heading in the next 12, 24 months? What are your priorities looking like?
So I think we're going to continue with repairs. There's a challenge, we're thinking of a challenge around, so I'm just trying to think how to frame it. So the smaller contractors that we use they don't have any IT systems. So we're just considering how to manage that in terms of a solution. So we can give them a means of easily picking up work, submitting work, sending in invoices, and general communications with us. Because if one of the ambitions is to deliver on, and we are getting there with this, is you book an appointment, you get a confirmation on the day, you get a reminder that the appointment, you get a reminder that the operative's on the way, and you get a survey at the end to say that they've done, and maybe some information about what they did and an image. And in order to deliver that, though, if you've got somebody who's only got 3 vans and and there's no IT capability, how do you do that? And actually the way to do that, I suppose, is to provide some sort of IT facility where if they're doing work for us, they can easily pick up the jobs and get notifications and actually interact indirectly with the customer through that. So that's the sort of thing we're thinking of. We're right at the beginning of that one, though. And the idea would also be to display that journey. The ultimate goal would be like your Amazon deliveries, so you can see where the person is and how far away they are. That's kind of the end goal, but we're a little way away from that at the moment. So that's the next sort of thing, I guess. Next big thing.
That's really exciting, isn't it? Like you say, sort of Amazon and the likes of DPD have got that sort of end-to-end process wrapped up really nicely, and being able to put that kind of information in the hand of customers and also in the hand of your contractors, your tradespeople would be really powerful. I'm conscious of time. I think we might have a couple of other questions in the chat. Is that right, Jake?
Yeah, we had one
Great.
from Lou Chapman for you, Simon, which was the Accent 500 group specifically, in terms of messaging the portal where customers and tenants can leave feedbacks to you. Is that popular, and is that internal only, or is that sort of public facing? And how do you find that in terms of the value of that? Is it a forum where people just post loads of complaints and negative things, or how's that for you?
Yeah, I think I think in terms of feedback, Facebook's the problem there. The Accent 500 portal, because people have volunteered to be engaged and they know what sort of things we're after, it's kind of a little bit self-moderated. It's very new.
Right.
I'll say that it probably there's not I think all 500 have access, but there's only a couple of forums on there at the moment. It's like a month old, is that one. The Accent 500's been around for probably, I don't know, 12-18 months, and we've been been pushing out surveys using SurveyMonkey and things like that. But I think we thought it would be more useful to have a bit more conversation and find out what people are thinking across different, and it was a way of joining people across all our regions, because we go down as far as sort of Kent and then right up to sort of Cumbria and across the Teesside, and it's difficult for those people to talk to each other, and some of the things people talk about are national challenges. So we've tried to pull that together. So in terms of the moderation so far, there hasn't been the need, because people have been quite they've been fair, and it's just been normal conversations. There's not been anything strange on there. You do get some people on Facebook with some strange requests and difficulties, things that sometimes we can't necessarily help with, and that's quite a challenge from that, because it's a bit of an open forum. But with this, they're registered with us and they've kind of volunteered, so we've got that relationship with them already.
So the expectation of that sort of group is quite clear then, isn't it? Rather than, like you're saying, something like Facebook, where, I don't think you're alone in terms of people seeing negative and strange things coming to them on Facebook, for sure.
Yeah, some of it's, it sounds of well-being, some of it's it can be quite upsetting as well for colleagues. I don't necessarily mean just in terms of their well-being, but in terms of the customers as well, because Facebook is it's everybody's lives online, and I think that's a real challenge for some of the customer partners, to try and help people out. It's still useful though, because it does flag things that we can help with, so it is still a useful platform.
Absolutely, great stuff. Well, I've just had a message from Lou in the chat to say great, thank you. So you must have answered the question very well there. But yeah, okay. Well, I know we've sort of approached quarter two, which is what we had in the diary today, the 45 minutes. So just wanted to say a big thanks for joining us today, Simon, putting the time in to put the slides together and talk us through the history and everything that you've been through today. It's been really informative, and I'm sure lots of people on the call today took some real value from that. So yeah, thanks again from us.
No, thank you.
Thanks so much, Simon. Yeah, that was really interesting. And if anyone has any questions sort of after today, feel free to reach out to Jake or myself. I'll be happy to assist with those.
Yeah, just a very quick one before we leave. We will have another Housing Hive in the coming weeks, looking like, which we'll confirm quite shortly, but it's looking like Thursday the 8th of July. And rather than a guest speaker this time, it'll be led by us at Prodo. All focused on websites. So we see websites as almost that channel shift enabler. It's the place to guide your customers towards your portal, towards your chat bot, towards helpful content to sort of help prevent them from having to call you potentially in some scenarios. So we'll be going over what you can do to help optimize yours and what to do if you need a new one. So hopefully see some of you on that one as well. But yeah, we'll be pushing that out quite soon. But yeah, thanks again for everyone joining today. Thanks for your assistance, Jenny, as always. And yeah, thanks to you again, as always.
Thank you so much. And yeah, thanks, Simon. That was wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank
you, everyone.
Take care.
Take care, everyone.
Cheers, bye.